to record and then do it live stream. I
Gotcha.
think we're good.
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. We will call the meeting to order. The time is 5:28, starting early. Welcome, all of you. Welcome to our new committee members and our returning committee members. And welcome to the members of the audience, including on Zoom. Hello. We're glad that all of you are here. We're going to proceed with item 2, the approval of the agenda. So the motion that the agenda for the Prescott Heritage Committee meeting of January 16th, 2025 be approved as presented. Do I have a mover? Thank you, Trevor. And a seconder? Adopt. Debbie, thank you. The agenda is presented. All in favor? Motion carried. Are there any declarations of interest? Any conflicts of interest? Committee? Thank you. All right, item 4.1 is a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. I have a recommendation that reads that the Prescott Heritage Committee minutes dated November 7th, 2024 be accepted as presented. Do I have a mover for this motion? Tracy, thank you. And a seconder? Scott, thank you. Any discussion on those minutes? No, all in favor? Motion is carried. It's not going to go quite as quickly for future items. Don't get too excited. All right. So item 5.1 is a staff report regarding the draft heritage designation bylaws. So I have a recommendation that reads that the Prescott Heritage Committee recommend to council that the designation process begin for the properties located at 305 Center Street, 388 Center Street, 408 East Street, 490 Center Street, and 425 Center Street pursuant to the Ontario Heritage Act RSO 1990, Chapter 0.18. Do I have a mover and a seconder of this motion for discussion purposes? Trevor, moving. Seconding, please. Debbie, thank you. And the clerk is going to speak to this report. So Lindsay, over to you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the report outlined the review process to date, and the Heritage Committee began reviewing the first group of properties in the summer of 2023. Following in-depth discussions, the committee was able to refine the review process and provide recommendations to council to remove 5 of those properties from the listing and proceed with the next steps for the properties for recommendation for designation. The committee reviewed the draft bylaws at the Prescott Heritage Committee meeting held on November 7th, 2024. At this meeting, the committee provided staff with direction to bring back draft designation bylaws for the 5 properties listed. Included in the report are the Schedule Cs, in which the statements explaining the cultural and heritage value of interest of properties, also including the heritage attributes, are included in the report. Part of the report also outlines the review process, as well as the consideration process where these properties rise to council, triggering the notice period, the notice of intention period. As mentioned, these draft Schedule Cs are included in the report. And I believe that's everything. Again, this is just as the recommendation reads, which is just a recommendation to cancel. So this is not the final step. The committee is reviewing the schedules, and then the process would move up to council for final review. That's my report. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. Thank you. So what we're proposing is that we'll go through these properties one at a time, having first a conversation with the committee. If there's anything that you noticed as you were reading through them prior to this meeting that you want to comment about or ask about. And then if the property representative, the property owner is here, then we'll ask for their thoughts. So shall we just start with the first one? We're starting with the surgery at 305 Center Street. And I'll ask, is there someone here for that property? Okay. So any comments? I'm sorry. Yes, I noticed that. Yes, it was. Yes, I saw this old sign today when I was down at the post office. I hadn't even realized it was up for sale. Yeah. Now, a heritage designation, it doesn't matter if there's change of ownership. The heritage designation, if it is made, would be sustained throughout multiple ownerships. Okay, so any comments from the committee on 305 Center Street?
A query, I guess.
Please.
We have recommended this as being designated and it's just changed ownership or in the process of changing ownership. But it's probably going to be a month or two or something before this actually goes on. There's a gray area in here that.
Yeah, I think what we would end up doing is if we want to move this forward to council, then we would make sure that the new property owners were notified.
They should have
They would be notified of it prior to.
appeal it or whatever.
Absolutely, yes.
So through you, Madam Chair, I did notice the property was for sale. We could reach out to the realtor to see if they could then contact their client or whoever they were working with to then contact them and then try to get some contact in between prior to. And again, with information provided to council, they might decide to hold off until the owners and everything has been settled as well.
Yes, because under normal circumstances, anybody putting an offer on the property or whatever would be informed that there is a designation on it, and here's what you can't do, and here's what you could get help doing or whatever. But in this case, it's great.
Yes. So we would just make sure that it that it wasn't, it didn't happen without the knowledge
Yeah,
of.
or council goes ahead and.
Exactly.
They talk to the new owners or whatever.
That's right.
Okay.
Any other comments on 305? Okay. Now, do we need to do this? Do we need to have a motion one at a time or just?
So through you, Madam
Yeah,
Chair, the motion
please.
reads all of them. If there
Okay.
happens to be one that the committee decides they want to take another look, we can look at amending that motion.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. Next property. We're looking at 388 Center. And we have a representative. We have the property owner here. Thank you for being here. Committee members, any comments or questions regarding 388 Center? No? Okay. Would you like to talk to us, please?
I'd like to know more of the benefits to us if we make it heritage. It's really like, I put hundreds of thousands of dollars in this house, but
Yes.
another couple $100,000 in this property.
Yeah.
Because it's all new windows, at least 38 of them,
Mhm.
and they need to be replaced. But I can't go to Home Depot and get them if it's heritage. You're gonna want a different kind of windows, which is probably gonna cost me about $500 a window. So the windows can't be replaced. There is a ton of work that needs done. The back wall, which is on the second page,
Yes,
Sean has already told me to tear it down.
yes.
For $20,000 into saving that, the problem is there is tremendous steel that belongs to the neighbor that I can't move. His place looks like a junkyard. I have complained about this to the town. They've done nothing. There are these great big steel containers there right against my fence, trailers against my fence. You complain to me that we want these houses to look so nice. It looks like a junkyard next door. You can see it from the fire hall. You see it from Center Street. Driving my driveway, it looks like a junkyard. And this is a serious problem with me. I've now bought a fence and now I have to pay to put this fence up.
Mm.
I have to incur all these expenses because I have a junkyard next door to my property. And that is a beautiful home. And now it looks like a piece of junk. But there's also, the house needs a tremendous lot more work. And I can't be running back and forth all the time saying, geez, do I have to, check on this? Do I have to check on that? I don't see any benefit to the homeowner in making it heritage. Absolutely nothing. I've had people refuse to buy my property and I can give you the names and numbers and you can talk to them because it's going to be heritage. They won't buy it. Because I have definitely notified them. It's not fair. They buy it. Most agents will not tell them because it's not already heritage. They have totally refused to buy it because it's heritage, because they don't want the expense having to deal with the Heritage Committee to fix the house, because it's obvious these things need done. And I don't see any benefit on anybody's, but we don't get lower taxes for doing it. We don't get anybody doing anything to help us. with the house, except this loan that's $9,000, but then you have to pay $18,000 out. Get a bill, get it from a proper account, get all this stuff, and then wait for your reimbursement. Well, people don't have that kind of money to do this. Like, that's a lot of money to be working out. To do something and then wait for the money to come back in, it's a lot of money. And it's tough to do that, plus you have to hire a proper contractor then to get receipt and everything else. Well, you can do it for half the price if you pay cash. Which is true, we all know that.
Sure.
And the stuff, so it doesn't benefit us in any way to be put into a heritage home. Like, I've done everything I can to keep it completely heritage, and I've done a tremendous lot, including putting up snow fence so the snow plows don't put the snow on the windows anymore, and a pile of other things like we painted, cleaned it up, and everything. I think it was raining in that house when I bought it. It was totally damaged. There's a $3,500 crystal chandelier one time in that house, and the people told me it's raining right down on it, on the floor, when John had it. And there's been a tremendous amount of work done to the house to restore it, including doing all the steel roofs, which was a fortune, doing all kinds of things that are a fortune. This wall, I want to fix it. I want to keep it. Again, I put $20,000 into it this summer. It's going to take another 15 or 20 to finish it. So we retain that front glass window in the front that was part of the house. If we start tearing that down, next wall is going to come down. Now, Sean's already looked at it. He said I can tear it down. But the wall that's next to it, which is in good shape, is going to come too if I tear it down. So there will be no support on that wall. So I'm stuck with this big bill to fix this house, which is a big problem for me. You know, like I don't look.
Yeah.
We now have an apartment in the back, which is a bit of a bed town. There is a small apartment we put in the back in the back part of the house at this point, but they don't like paying rent either. So that's very interesting. Prescott. I knew that, but I really don't see where any of us benefit from this heritage thing at all. I think it's cost us a lot of money. And that's my opinion on it. I will put in a thing, if you make it here, I'll argue with it, I'll fight it, because I don't see any real benefit to it. And I don't want somebody telling me what to do with my house. I've already put up big signs, says Robert Glasgow House on it. It looks beautiful. It's really nice. I can send you the pictures. And the pictures of the work I've done on the house to keep it heritage. And James Hutcherson was in the other day and couldn't believe it. He says, I can't believe it. It's so beautiful compared to what it was. He was at the auction. He says it's really, really, really taken care of it. So it's I want to continue doing that, but I don't want to have somebody telling me, okay, this window is going to cost you $500 instead of $200 because we have to have it exactly this way. And I don't think that's fair.
Can I speak personally and say that I live not very far from you? As you probably are aware, I walk by your place every day with my dog. And I'm certainly very aware of all of the work that you've done. It's been an enormous amount of work. You've been really diligent about it. Certainly, I think we probably moved into the area at about the same time because it's been going for a number of years now. Someday I'd love to. Thank you.
And I did mention it to the girl at the Heritage Society. I actually think we should have a walkthrough of these houses. And I would certainly volunteer mine without it being heritage, that people should come and see, because I know Rhonda across the street would do hers too, which is totally different than mine. It's been finished. And it's mine, but there are all kinds of people in this town that would love to show off their beautiful houses.
Exactly.
And if they had a day and everybody chipped in $10 to come and see maybe 6 houses, and the Heritage Society could have the money. Like, nobody's got a problem with that. I don't want to get paid to show a house. And the Heritage could maybe do something with that money.
Which is very wonderful and very much appreciated. And it's one of the things that we want to be doing as a Heritage Committee is to really showcase the incredible properties that are in this town that, you know, I mean, it's a special place. And
not even the heritage ones, the ones that aren't even heritage, because I know this is not across the street, but it's well worth seeing. It's because it's the same house as mine, but smaller, but it's done totally opposite. It's been finished.
Right.
And,
Right.
you know, everything's painted stainless steel, everything, you know, so the comparison is fantastic. You know, people can see the difference.
So it's sounding as if what's causing a big problem, correct me if I'm wrong here, but it's sounding as if what's causing a big problem is the cost of window replacement in particular, because things like the wall, we've already said it doesn't factor into heritage. So the expenses of that are aside, right? It has nothing to do with us if you choose to fix the wall or not. But what does have to do with us if we were to ask for designation is the replacement of windows. 38, the replacement of 38 windows. Yes, yes. So there's that. And then the other factor is the people who are feeling that they would not want to purchase the home because of a designation. Have they explained, and their explanation for that was that they felt that that was going to be the town dictating to them what they could and couldn't do with the house?
I've told them it's mostly the outside of the house.
Yes,
They have to get permits like regular people for the inside.
exactly.
They probably should have that, they might be really don't think it would be a problem, but you
No.
have to talk to them, got another bathroom. I did suggest it right above the other bathroom, so it was easy to do, but I don't think that was the problem. It was mainly if they wanted to do anything to the, like, one was replace the windows, but they also want to paint the facade around the top. And they said, well, what if we want to paint it a different color? Like, what if we want to do something artistic with it? What if we want to do something like this? And I said, geez, I don't know.
Mhm.
You know, I said, what if they want to paint it hot pink like them or, you know?
Yeah, yeah. And, you know,
Either, but
hot pink would be an issue.
yes, yes, I think it's going to be the same powder blue as the garage next door.
Ah.
That's what I was going to paint it. I have a painter that will do it and do it the same so it all matches again, even though it's not my property.
Mhm.
But the biggest problem I have at home is neighbor. It's just junk, because it really does look awful. If you are walking by, walk in my driveway and take a look, it's really a mess.
Yeah, yeah.
It really is. And I think it's taking away from not just me, but from other people can see it. And it really is, I don't know what's in those tanks either, which is another problem. They're tanks, those tanks are 8 feet high.
Yeah.
And 4 feet across. I don't know what's in them. And that's a concern.
I could certainly understand that. It's not anything Heritage Committee could have anything to do with, but I certainly understand the concern.
Let's go to the fire department, look back, it looks terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bonita, you wanted to?
I just wanted to say that in 2017, we did have a house tour. As some of you may know, Scott would know because his house was on the tour. And my house was on the tour, and the French house, and a number of other ones. And it was a facilitated event with the Historical Society and our church. And it took a lot of work to do. It was good. We made, we each made money selling tickets, but it's the insurance and getting people coordinated, and like it was a big job.
Insurance?
Oh, yes, you have to, because if someone falls on their way in to see your house, who would cover that insurance? There's things that have to be considered. And a lot of people, they love the idea, but they don't want to put their house on display for a variety of reasons. So we ended up with 6 homes, and it was a successful event, and we did raise like $2,800.
Yeah.
So it happened, but it would have to be really coordinated with people that knew how to do it, and all the it took a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But they do Fulton House, and they do a beautiful job.
Mhm.
Christmas at Fulton House. And I don't know what they do about the insurance, but the rents are terrible. Anyway. But that's why I don't want to end it. And
Thank you.
and continue to fix it and make it, keep it heritage as much as I can, within whatever, but I don't want it to be a heritage home. I really don't. You know. I just don't see what I get back for it.
Thank you. Is there anyone who would like to say anything else? Okay. I appreciate what you've said, and I understand the dilemma. I do think you are you are already aware of what you're getting back from a heritage property, which is pride in owning a heritage property. It is a beautiful house, and that's clear in what you're saying. It's clear that that's how you feel. And that's really what Heritage Committee is wanting to promote, is that pride
We haven't changed.
that we have them.
It's gonna make no difference whether it's heritage or not heritage to me. Like, I'm not gonna take better care of it if it's heritage. You know, so much.
She's brought up some very good points, and it's the same questions that I was talking to you about a month ago or whatever, that, you know, I don't know the definitive reasoning or rules of what you can do and can't do on these houses. Like, we look at them and decide that it meets the criteria that the province has put out and the town has put out. So we recommend it for designation. But it doesn't, you know, I personally don't know what you're allowed to do for a window. I know I own an old house and an old building, and I want them to be as close as possible to original looking anyway. However, I do realize that in 1828, when my building was built, it was single pane glass that you couldn't see out of because it was full of irregularities and so on. And what I want now is thermal pane with a glaze in it and so on. And, you know, am I allowed to have that or am I not? I will still go with the transoms and so on if it needs it, and you know, 6/6 and stuff like that, but that's not major money items. But
My problem is when they take the old windows out, because the house is shifted over the years, it's not going to be straight. All the frames are gonna have to be replaced, everything's gonna have to be replaced, everything's gonna have to be done. And there might be stone that has to be moved and changed and stuff like that. And this is going to be just like a massively huge project. And I don't see how the Heritage Society is gonna help on this. Like, this is going to be probably.
I don't think the Heritage Committee is meant to be a funding source or a helping source.
Yes,
It's to, I mean, you have to take the pride in your own property, and which you obviously have with the, you know, doing what you want, as I have on mine and so on. But
However, there is funding help. There is funding
yeah, there
available.
are avenues that you can go down.
well, what the problem is you go to Home Depot and you buy windows and they're $230, but if you buy the windows that actually should go there, like the good windows with the lines in them, which is what you want, and everything else like that, then they're casement windows. And to have the wood in them and make them look like they do
Yeah.
and stuff, and they're $500 and stuff. And if you do the math on 38 windows, that's a lot of money.
But I don't know what that has to do with heritage though, because
The windows look the same as the old windows.
where's that written? Is that legislated in there? That's the window?
So through you, Madam Chair, if we look at the criteria, if the committee was wanting the windows to look the exact same, when I read the criteria, that's not what I read.
Right.
I read it as being windows seen visible in symmetry, as seen in the number and spacing of the windows. So to me, I would read that as not filling in windows without coming back to the committee for approval. So still a window in those spaces. So again, I don't know if the size, a large window is going to be more money than a standard window. I understand that, but.
All plain fitted windows, they're all the little tiny windows.
Mhm.
And they're there now with the wooden crosses all through them. And that's just what's there.
And my question to the committee is, do you want to see replacement of those windows exactly that way? Or when you're looking at the supporting details, is the Georgian style, the symmetry, the number and the spacing of the windows?
And that is all that we had on here. Very good point. So in other words, the $200 windows are fine. The $200 windows are fine. Because we didn't anywhere in this bylaw request ask that the windows be replaced to look as they look now.
Somebody told me that they had to replace, when they replaced the windows, they told them they had to have this.
That would be perhaps for their property if that was in their bylaw, but your particular proposed bylaw is not that. No, I understand that, but I'm saying that the way we wrote this bylaw just asked for you to not fill in any of the windows with stone or brick. Make sure you keep those openings and, you know, those same number of windows, the same symmetry, the same look as far as spacing of the windows, but we didn't in any way ask you to have a particular kind of window.
Maybe it's changed.
I think basically what we're after is keeping the shell of the building and or any other extremely important items as it was intended to be when it was built. We don't want you to put a wart on the end of it that takes away from it or modernize one little part of it without talking to us and getting sort of approval or rubber stamp on it. As far as, I mean, who's to say that, you know, your house was built in 1850 or something and, you know, the windows that are there now aren't necessarily the same windows that were put in there the day it was built. Some of them, well, could be and so on, but there's been changes. There's been,
We already got doors in them.
oh yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of windows are one item, you know, doors and everything else. And there's a lot of changes over 150 years. It's, so it's hard for us to say that that's the way it was originally built and that's the way we want it. We can't do that.
No.
Good.
That helps?
Okay.
That helps?
Can I just, so what you're saying is about heritage as in the architectural structure and design, example, ours is neo-Gothic, therefore the design of those windows are neo-Gothic from a historical or heritage point of view.
Mhm.
So we couldn't board them up or put a new, that makes perfectly good sense, but what you're using, like, those are grill 6/6, but they're modern windows, but they look
That's
like, right, that's what you mean. It's not about, you have to go into paramedics like we had to do with our windows and have them measure for moisture in your frame and have all the frame. That is a horrifically expensive thing. They were $1,100 per window, but we had to do that because there was no one else that would actually make a window that size. There's none available
That's the
anywhere
other problem
else.
I have. We did
So if it's a Georgian style, the window style and shape is the same.
Mhm.
Ours were 8 feet by 5 feet, all stained glass, so it was a different situation. And there is nobody. We went to Wilkes, we went to all the local people to get a quote, but they wouldn't touch it because, and then Northern Glass is, then you're looking at horrific $42,000 per window for the big window. Yeah.
And I have the arched doors.
Yes, yes, yes.
So it's more about heritage as in the structure of the building and the aesthetics to the outside, like.
Correct.
Okay.
That's the way I see it.
That's how I
It's,
see it as well.
Correct.
Matt,
So that's-
Yeah.
Are we on the right page here?
100% agree with
Yeah.
what the clerk said and the tone of the discussion, absolutely.
Yeah.
We're trying to preserve certain aspects, but not keep you from, you know, having an energy efficient home and being able to update it and things like that and making a cost pervasive, you know. We don't want to fill in windows, but we do realize that windows over time will change in technology and it makes perfect sense. And so
That's the thing. It's changed so quick now. It's,
And these windows are a prime example when we had to have these replaced and they don't make them that wide anymore. They did do a special order because it was still under warranty, but you know, it's a prime example of things change over time and it's difficult to
Yes,
keep
especially
on.
attic windows.
So, yeah.
This will be very difficult to find the right size.
So from that perspective, there's an advantage for you of your house potentially being designated heritage because you can then access this source of funding to support a heritage property with those $200 windows.
I did speak to someone about the Heritage Society, about the funding, and I did mention that, you know, you have to have the money up front, you have to have this, and you have to have that, and then they didn't come back to me. because I've since, like, we've got a new neighbor, new this, new that, next thing, because nobody ever come back to me on it. I thought, "Oh, it's down to 2 furnaces in the house."
Well, I would imagine at this point that would happen after council has designated,
Correct.
that conversation would need to happen after it's been designated, otherwise it wouldn't apply.
Yeah, I usually just talk to Sean.
Okay. Shall we? Are you good with where we're leaving this? Okay, terrific. Thank you. All right, our next property is 408 East Street. Any comments from committee members regarding 408? And we have our property owner available to us via Zoom. Hi.
Yes. Hi.
Would you like to talk to us about your property? Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm a bit on the back foot because I don't have a copy of the report.
Oh, okay.
I have no comment and I don't know what you're designating.
All right, let me read it to you then, if that's all right.
Yes.
And then you'll know. It's fairly short. So there's a description of the property as a 3-story stone house built sometime in the 1850s, located on the east side of East Street at the intersection of East Street and Dibble Street West. This property was one of the first houses to be built on the east side of East Street. In 1908, the house was purchased by a wealthy businessman who added to the size and impressiveness of the property with the addition of a dining room, kitchen, porches, and a carriage house. This property is a mixture of the architectural styles of the late Victorian and Edwardian period. The statement of cultural heritage, value, or interest, I always have trouble with that, is criteria number 9. The property has contextual value because it is a landmark. The supporting details are that it was one of the first houses on the east side of East Street, and it is considered a landmark due to its sheer mass and design. The heritage attribute that would match that, the piece that we would actually want to designate, is the mass and design of the house and carriage house. So again, we are talking exterior only. We're talking about then the building materials that were being used and the design of those two buildings.
Chair, I
Right.
did just forward Kay the
Oh.
report and the agenda, so if she's on a computer and she wanted to pull it up, she should have that in her inbox.
Oh, great. You've got it now, Kay?
Oh, okay, but I'm just only looking at Zoom. I'm not looking at my email. So you've sent it.
Okay,
to my
fair
email,
enough.
correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I appreciate that. I was just mindful. I know
Sure.
I'd seen something a long time ago, but I hadn't seen anything more recent.
Sure, of course.
And I'm just going to make a request. I can see where the camera angle is. I can only see the wall and a couple of you in the council. I can't actually see you. Just of where your angle is pointing. That, oh, lovely. Now I can see some human beings. That's lovely. So I guess I have a couple of questions. So fine, you've designated the exterior. You're indicating that, in terms of the Victorian Edwardian style, that everything would need to remain in keeping with that. There wasn't anything else that was specific. Am I correct?
Yes, and it was simply mass and design of the house and carriage house. That is the specific heritage attribute.
So I guess that's only saying I can't tear it down and you can't have an earthquake. And I can say I personally, many of you would be aware that the house or the property had been on the market for quite some time, and I did speak with the appraiser and I did speak with the realtors, and one of their specific questions, similar to the previous owner that spoke, they actually indicated that the house value will be diminished of the heritage status. So, from a property owner, I can also ask the question, as I understand it from the previous meeting I was on, this is a move forward, I appreciate, by the Ontario government and the town of Prescott, and the owner doesn't have a lot of vote or sway or say. I can appeal, and I anticipate there's not going to be much much chance of that. So you can hear I don't have a lot of hope in my voice. And I fully envision that the value of the property as and when it sells will diminish. And that diminishes the value of Prescott from my perspective. So I appreciate that there is you talked about funding, or, I'll say whether it's loans or grants or things that are available to individuals that have heritage properties. Again, I have not researched any of that to recognize that, and recognizing that it's the sheer mass and design, I'm not quite sure what I would ever be able to acquire funding for. I'm just thinking, would it be the stone parging or something like that? So I'm somewhat at a loss, and at the same time, I appreciate the value, and as the individual earlier that spoke as the previous owner, clearly as any individual that's bought an old house has a value for the house, and doing their utmost to keep it up. So could you answer the question in terms of, is there any opportunity, as you sit as the council, for an owner to appeal and have it that it would not be a heritage home?
Yes, there is. There's an entire appeal process that was part of the agenda package, and so you'll be able to take a look at that after this conversation. But there's also another piece in the agenda package that I think, will want to take a close look at, and that is the report that Matthew is going to give at the next step, where he talks about the value of the homes and whether or not they diminish or increase. Because in fact, the information that he has found is that in many situations, the value of the property actually increases on resale because it is a designated property, not decrease.
Yeah, and I recognize that was when in the meeting, probably last year or some other time when I was there, that was the comment from the town, and I went back to the appraiser and to the realtors, and again, we can have a difference of opinion, and the reality. I was told it would be I'm trying to think of the words they used. It's like a weight on your neck, like it would weigh it down. And that's, again, independent view. But I'm the owner, so I own it, and whether it's going to go up or down or whatever it is. So that's just the circumstance as it is. I don't think I have any other questions. I'm not super excited. There's an element to me I could be very proud that it has interest from the town and a space. And at the same time, as a business owner, don't see this as being great for us at this point in time.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. Thanks for being here and sharing that.
No, but thank you for listening. I appreciate it, because I know you have your work you need to do.
No worries.
So thank you for what you do.
Thank you. Next property is 425 Center Street. Do we have any comments from the committee? Okay. Do we have representatives here for 425 Center? Hi. Any comments? Anything you'd like to share?
I just want to mention, we were talking about the funding for heritage sites. We just went through that process this summer, and David Valentine was excellent. We were very successful. It's important for our church.
It's very hard to sell. She's right. It's hard. Realtors do the same thing. You know, and once you look on construction people come, they think you
But I guess we're in a different position as a church, because we don't have to sell it, but just trying to maintain it.
It's good to hear that you had good support from the town through Dana for the funding. Yeah, that's tremendous. That's great to hear. So are you comfortable with this process going forward? Thank you. Okay, thank you. And 490 Center Street, and I'm guessing Benita, you're here for that property? Thank you. Any comments from the committee? No? Okay, Benita?
We're thrilled with the designation because the research we did, we're trying to get funding for our roof, as you know. And it's very difficult to find and access that. It is definitely easier for an institution nowadays because a lot of the government funding has removed the faith-based institutions were not applicable before. We weren't allowed, we were ineligible. Well, now that's changing. And also all churches are changing. So we have to do something with these buildings, and heritage in every town, in every city, and every place around the world is going through these meetings. And the reason we need interest in the heritage isn't so much about our own personal value of the property as an asset, but what it contributes to the town as a whole. That's heritage. So we are really fighting for our designation, and we know there are limitations, but from the research we did, the limitations are diminished, and the opportunities as governments change and they start to really recognize how small towns like Prescott are trying to help maintain across this vast land some kind of a heritage in our architectural urban built environment, then this is what we have to do. So I'm not in the same boat as in like a homeowner. I'm in the same boat. I'm not asking for that building for a variety of reasons, but we're going in that direction. But financially we're okay. We knew when we took it on, it was going to be really a lot of money to buy windows, to get a roof. These things that are stone buildings are going to cost you this kind of money, right? Keeping the mice out this year especially. So those things, but for St. John's Anglican Church, this is very important, and we're 100% behind it. We'll do whatever we need to keep working with the town. And like the Presbyterian Church, we are so proud of our town for funding and helping us with our garden, with using and redeveloping that property because it belongs to an institution that's changed. And if we want to keep it, then it's part of our town and it's our community endeavor. So without town support, we can't do those things. So we are very happy with this, and we'll do whatever we need to help support it.
Tremendous. Thank you, Benita. All right. So I repeat the motion, shall I? Okay. So the motion now is that the Prescott Heritage Committee recommends to council that the designation process begin for the properties located at 305 Center Street, 388 Center Street, 408 East Street, 490 Center Street, and 425 Center Street pursuant to the Ontario Heritage Act, RSO 1990, Chapter 0.18. All in favor? All in favor of that motion? Opposed? Scott?
No.
No, you're not opposed? Okay. Motion is carried. Thank you. Item 5.2 is a staff report regarding frequently asked questions on heritage designation properties and is for information only. Our CAO, Matthew Armstrong, will speak to this report.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And so what we did is kind of tried to find a little bit of information that
Thank you, girls.
kind of continues to come up when there's questions about heritage properties. So the first place I went was the Government of Ontario and the Heritage Ministry, and they have a number of just things that they come across when it comes to questions on heritage properties, and property insurance was certainly one of them. And it is their belief that it should not go up just because of a heritage designation. So what they did note is older homes will naturally be more expensive to insure, just because there's a number of, you have the age of infrastructure and things like that. There's also sometimes a misunderstanding that if it was to burn down by fire, that you'd have to build the exact same thing, and that's not the case. Is that if it burns down, you're not required to rebuild what was there. So, it's things like that, replicating damage, replacement cost versus, that sort of thing. It kind of helped to really understand what is required, and that's straight from the government of Ontario. And then what we also did is, worked with the, City of Toronto. They had, very, specific information around insurance. Because again, they had very similar questions, and they have far more heritage properties than they would. And, they went through that again and really talked about some of those issues that you'll find. And a lot of times insurance companies are trying to avoid it, but they are absolutely incorrect in saying that I can't insure a heritage property. They have the right to decide not to insure a certain age of property, but it wouldn't be based on heritage versus non-heritage. And so I think I found it helpful. And then I also went to the Insurance Bureau of Canada, and they also had some documentation in terms of what you really should be prepared for. And I think the one thing that was interesting for me is in the heritage property risk perspective is they talk about reducing the risks of when you have an older house. It's not necessarily a heritage, but removing the lead pipe and getting rid of the non-tube wiring and things like that. Those aren't things that affect your heritage designation, but it certainly does help the insurance company feel a whole lot better about insuring that home. If you have non-tube wiring, it doesn't matter what the designation is. I would go in the opposite direction as well. And it's things like that. So really what their suggestion was is take a look at mitigating those risks, and that will make your insurance company feel a lot better about your property. And so, they had, what kind of construction was it? Is it on water and sewer? What is the foundation type? All of those types of things. And then if you can, demonstrate that those common risk areas in older homes have been mitigated, then that will certainly help. So I think, we tried to find what we could in terms of that. City of Toronto obviously was helpful. And then Insurance Bureau of Canada, that was their recommendation is, try to mitigate those risks. And that would be true of any homeowner. So.
Yeah.
Yes.
If your stone house burns down, you can't reuse the stone. It has to be carted away and taken away. It's I just put it in there.
Yeah.
My house is like a bit burnt, you cannot rebuild it. It's
No.
cancer.
No.
Even if I've been insured for me $3 million, I do it. And it's a shame, but it's true, you can't reuse the stone.
No.
Mhm.
So I
No.
just, that it's got nothing to do with the heritage, it's just, you can't.
Yep.
Mine's got only wiring, only plumbing, only everything, so.
Thank goodness, eh?
It's got.
Absolutely.
It means fire things.
That's good. Thank you.
Anyway, but, just, they know people were aware of that, they own stone home. So.
Thank you, Matthew. Thank you so much for doing that for us. And I think this speaks very positively to the intention of both the Heritage Committee and town staff and council in what's being looked at here. No one is trying to impose draconian measures on homeowners, on property owners. We are very conscious of additional expenses that might be incurred or of possible insurance difficulties and all these sorts of things, and really looking into that. No one's shoving things under the carpet, trying to pretend they don't exist. So I think we're very much on the same team. We all care about this community. We all care about the properties in the community, and we want to do the best we can to have it work well for everyone, owners and town as a whole. So thank you for doing that, both of you.
Like you're saying, they say the same thing.
Well, maybe we need to do a bit of educating of realtors. Maybe that's part of a mandate of a heritage committee. We have talked about the fact that we need to be more involved in education.
People's houses.
Yeah.
Just because there was difficulty.
I neglected to ask, is there any discussion on this report? The one Matthew gave, we went ahead and did it anyway. Any further discussion on this report?
How well circulated is this that Matthew did, like, do our building inspectors have it?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll make sure that they do. Also, the frequently asked questions is right on, one done by Prescott is right on our website. And on that is also the CIP information as well. But yeah, I think that's certainly something that we can add down in the office, as well as send that out to all of our designated funders.
Terrific.
It's the citizen of the town that we are discussing their house, or a new person in the area, and they've bought an old house and they're debating what to do and so on. Do I restore it? Do I do this? And so on. It's, would behoove us to, not just this committee, but our building inspectors, the different contact people these people have, the realtors, the insurance companies. Like, we should all be on the same page on this stuff, so that we don't get into the mess, like, not mess, but the discussions where she's been told this and, somebody said this and I've heard this and so on. And, as I said half an hour ago, we need some definitive answers or whatever on this, that we all know and we're all on the same page that, hey, heritage is not a bad thing, it's a good thing. One thing to be proud of your property and so on, but it shouldn't be to the extent that it costs you an awful lot of money to be proud of your property. Like, you've already put a lot of money into your property, so.
I really see that as a major focus of our group. Once, we have these properties that we need to be addressing, but we also have an important role in terms of education. And it's education of a variety of.
And these open houses are something that, like,
Sure.
that was a well-done thing, and it was done a couple of different times.
Yeah.
And I think it's great, and it doesn't have to be, the same big glorious houses. There's all sorts of houses.
And it's a good idea because it's not just homes on the tours. It's like your house, the history of it. And people learn about the surgery, right? All of those different things, you end up getting an idea and you see what people have done. But any house anywhere in this town is expensive to keep nowadays. It's not just people with old houses. Everything's expensive. Right? So we have to be aware that if it looks like us with old houses are getting something special, that might tick people off that say, listen, it costs me just as much to water my lawn or the other issues. So it's the community, the heritage part for me is the appeal to Prescott is look at this town, go up the river in your boat or drive down number 2 and look at it. It's magnificent. There, you could have a movie. You look down and you look at these gorgeous big homes. They're not building these anymore. And so there's so many beautiful ones, yours included, that it's good that the town recognizes we need something to keep it so it stays that way and people don't turn them into complexes where there's 15 tenement houses in there and then you're lost, you're stuck. So I'm glad you're working at it. It's going to be hard. We have to get clarity and direction to know what does it mean. Does it mean we're not allowed to have certain windows? Does it mean we can't paint things blue? What does it really mean? Right. But from what the research I did, like Matthew, it's a benefit in the long run for everybody. Yeah, it shows we're aware we have heritage here. It's not Kenville.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. New business, folks. Does anyone have any new business they would like to bring forward? Okay. And there are no questions from the media, so we will let that one go. We're going to look at adjournment. What I would like to do is have you grab your calendars and let's figure out dates for the next 2 meetings, please. February and March. So we're going to start with Tracy, our council rep, because she has the tightest of schedules. So can you give us some dates, please, Tracy?
Excuse me. Lindsay? I don't know if we have our Benjamin.
How soon were, like the week of the 17th of February, is that soon enough? Or when were you thinking?
No, that's fine.
Okay,
Sure.
that week.
A month from now? Sure. That'll give us a month to work on the 5 properties that you have.
So
This is their homework.
And that's your homework.
it's Family Day weekend, so our council is on Tuesday that week. So Wednesday, Thursday is fine.
Okay. So we are then looking at the 19th or 20th?
19th or 20th.
Wednesday or Thursday. Does anyone have a preference? No, we're good? You want to go for the Wednesday? Well, no, you said council is Tuesday? Let's make it Thursday then, shall we? Give you guys a break in between. So Thursday, the 20th. And are we able to go on to March or not yet?
Just at the same time, 5:30.
5:30, please. Yes.
Could you do the 20th of March as well?
20th of March? What day of the week is that, Matt? Thursday again? Okay, thank you. Thursday, March 20th?
Works, yeah. Yeah, that's good.
Great. 5:30. Perfect. So I have a recommendation that the Prescott Heritage Committee meeting be adjourned to Thursday, February 20th, 2025. The time right now is 6:25 PM. Do I have a mover for this motion? Thank you, Anthony. And a seconder? Debbie? All in favor? Motion carried. Thank you very much, everyone, and thank you very much to our members of the public.